Imagine you're a gray wolf or a cheetah, and it's dinner time. Over there, an antelope is prancing around, heart racing, legs built for warp speed. And over here, there's a walking boulder covered in spikes and rivets, quietly chewing leaves and pretending the whole drama has nothing to do with it. Which one are you chasing? The soft, sprinting lunch, or the living tank with the built-in weapon rack? Predators might be scary, but they're not stupid. They've got an energy budget to manage. That's why, for the last 10 million years of the dinosaur era, while the track star herbivores were constantly rehearsing for their next life-or-death sprint, Ankylosaurus usually got to graze in peace without ever having to file a complaint or run for its life. We still meet the same philosophy today. An armadillo rolls into a perfect armored ball and just waits out the chaos. A pangolin turns itself into a spiky pineapple in half a second, tail wrapped around like a padlock. A tortoise simply slams the door, pulls its head in, and metaphorically puts the kettle on. They're all part of the same quiet protest movement. If you want to eat me, you'd better bring a can opener and really good health insurance. Make yourself so awkward and painful to bite that most predators go shopping elsewhere. Rewind 70 million years, and one animal turned that idea into high art. Meet Ankylosaurus, a grumpy-looking 8-ton granddad who moves like he's permanently stuck in second gear, and yet somehow made even the biggest, baddest predators of the Cretaceous go, "You know what? I'll grab a burger instead." Welcome to late Cretaceous North America. Steamy river forests, swampy floodplains, and seasonal wetlands we now call Hell Creek or the Lance Formation. Picture broad, muddy rivers sliding between banks of conifers and fern thickets, thunderstorms rolling in almost every afternoon. The air smells of wet moss and rotting logs, heavy and humid. Dragonflies buzz over still ponds. Crocodile relatives lurk at the water's edge. Everywhere, you'd hear Triceratops grumbling as they shoulder one another aside, Edmontosaurus honking in anxious herds, Tyrannosaurus prowling with that low, bone-deep footfall that makes the ground hum. And then, underneath all that noise, a different rhythm. Clunk, clunk, clunk. Steady, heavy, like someone dragging a suit of medieval armor through the mud. That's just Ankylosaurus clocking in for another day of being gloriously, stubbornly alive, one slow footstep at a time. Look closely, and you'll see why nobody wants to RSVP to that party. The entire upper body is sheathed in oval and polygonal osteoderms, bone plates grown right into the skin, overlapping like roof tiles on a very angry cathedral. Some are capped with horn-like spikes, others fused into broad shield panels across the shoulders and hips. Neck, shoulders, hips, extra thick. The belly is softer, sure, but it's buried low between 4 pillar legs, hard to reach from any angle. Along the flanks, rows of spikes warn anything thinking about a side attack that this is a very bad life decision. And the tail. Oh, the tail. It ends in a solid bone club like a wrecking ball, powered by thick, reinforced tendons. Swing that under the ribs of a predator, and you're not just bruising it, you're canceling its hunting career. Scientists reckon a full swing could deliver about the force of a grand piano dropped from the second floor. But here's the twist. It almost never had to swing. Ankylosaurus chose the slow life package. Dawn, it potters along the riverbank, lowering that tiny head to nibble ferns, low shrubs, fallen fruit, anything within polite reaching distance. Its mouth isn't built for delicate picking. It just hoovers vegetation into a beak, mashes it with leaf-shredding teeth, and moves on. Mid-morning, it pauses at a muddy patch, coating its armor in a fresh layer of dirt that likely helps with parasites and sun protection. Lunchtime. It finds a shady spot, flops down with an earthquake sigh, and lets small Cretaceous birds hop across its back, picking parasites from the cracks in between plate crevices. Free spa day, prehistoric style. Dusk. It lumbers on again, each footstep a small announcement, armor plates clinking softly like wind chimes made of tank parts. To everything smaller, that sound means road closed. To anything bigger, it's a polite but firm, "Mate, are you absolutely sure you want to test this?" Paleontologists rarely find T-Rex bones with cracked skulls from Ankylosaurus clubs. Know why? Because most predators took one look, heard the clatter-clunk orchestra, did the mental maths, and decided salad wasn't that bad after all. A wounded predator is a soon-to-be dead predator. One bad hit to the leg or ribs could mean infection, starvation, or becoming someone else's snack. Even Tyrannosaurus, with teeth like banana-sized steak knives, had to weigh the risk of shattered bones against the reward of a mouthful of armored gristle. Every ecosystem has bullies, but even bullies pick their targets. Out on the floodplain, Ankylosaurus wasn't just hard to eat. It was a walking, "do not touch" sign. The best armor, it turns out, is the kind that makes the fight unnecessary. If we drew a simple graph, one axis speed and agility, the other axis raw protection, gazelles and antelope would be top left, all legs and panic. Modern rhinos and hippos would sit somewhere in the middle, tough, but still able to sprint when they're in a mood. And Ankylosaurus would be glued to the far right wall, almost touching the ceiling, a tiny dot labeled "ridiculous overkill." It traded almost everything: speed, wide foraging range, the ability to leg it when things got spicy, the option of doing anything more athletic than a determined shuffle, for one priceless luxury: relative peace of mind in a world full of teeth. It was the prehistoric equivalent of living in a slow, indestructible armored van, while everyone else drives sports cars with no seatbelts. Then, one ordinary afternoon, 66 million years ago, the sky turned the color of rust. A strange streak of light burned across the atmosphere, and somewhere far away, the horizon flashed white. In the days that followed, ash fell like gray snow, dimming the sun and choking rivers. Plants struggled, then failed, and forests that had thrummed with insect wings and dinosaur calls went quiet. Ankylosaurus kept grazing, slow as ever, still trusting that if it was heavy enough and solid enough, the world would eventually get bored and leave it alone, like every hungry predator before. But this time, the enemy didn't have claws or fangs, and it didn't care how thick your armor was. It arrived at 9 kilometers per second from outer space, hit the planet like a reset button, and turned resilience into a meaningless statistic. No amount of bone plating can argue with an asteroid and the chaos that follows. Today, all that remains are scattered plates and clubs locked inside red and brown sandstone, quietly lit under museum spotlights. Technicians spend months cleaning each knob of bone with tiny tools, piecing together the natural jigsaw that once wrapped an animal's back like a heavy quilt. Kids press their faces to the glass, counting the spikes, gawking at the tail club, trying to imagine this thing actually moving. Adults stand there doing their own mental maths. 8 tons, covered in armor, and something still killed it. The fossils don't answer. They just sit there, heavy and silent. Yet every time we stand beneath one of those restored skeletons, staring up at that ridiculous tank turtle dinosaur hybrid, we can't help smiling. It looks both absurd and admirable, like someone took the concept of no thank you and built it into a body plan. Because it whispers something comfortingly human. Sometimes, victory doesn't look like running the fastest or hitting the hardest. Sometimes, it just looks like making it to tomorrow, again and again, slow, steady, and stubbornly unwilling to be anyone's lunch. Ankylosaurus reminds us that there's another kind of strength, the kind that says, I'm still here, even when the odds aren't exactly cheering for you. In a universe that rarely plays fair, maybe that quiet, clanking kind of courage, the courage to endure, is the toughest armor of all.